Good afternoon, everyone. So for today, let's go ahead and discuss the second part of our module here in Empowerment Technologies. So if you can still remember, during the last meeting, we were able to discuss and introduce the basics of Google Workspace. I was also able to show you the basic steps on how to collaborate, invite some of your friends, and collaborate with your teammates using the Google Workspace. So for today, as I have said, we will be focusing more on the what we call Google Sheets. All right. So Google Sheet is actually a spreadsheet app on Google Workspace. So if na-try nyo nang gumamit ng tinatawag natin na Microsoft Excel, it's actually the same with that one. And it looks and functions much like any other spreadsheet tool such as yun nga, Microsoft Excel. We also have WPS, yung mga ganyan. Pero mas common kasi ang Microsoft Excel. Now, because it's an online app, it offers much more than that than most spreadsheet tools. So here are some of the things that make Google Sheets so much better. Number one, okay, it's a web-based spreadsheet that you can use anywhere. So, if ever na hindi nyo ma-install ang Microsoft Office sa mga laptop nyo, we can now use Google Sheets for as long as you have your internet connection. You can even download, even download the Google Sheet app in your mobile devices such as your iOS and Android, and it's actually free. Yeah, Google Sheet is also free, and it's bundled with Google Drive, Google Docs, Slides, and other Google Workspace apps. It also includes almost all of the same spreadsheet functions, and if you know how to use Excel, you'll feel at home in Google Sheets. Pero do not worry if this is your first time using Google Sheets, or if you're not that familiar with Microsoft Excel, uumpisahan naman natin. We will discuss this entire Google Sheet from the bottom hanggang sa pinaka-advanced na pwede natin gawin. You can also download some add-ons, create your own, and write some custom code. And this is online, so you can gather data with your spreadsheet automatically and do almost anything you want, even when your spreadsheet isn't open. Now, aside from this one, the good thing about this one, since it's part of the Google Workspace, you can integrate other Google Workspace apps such as Forms. So, pwede kang gumawa ng Google Sheet, then export that Google Sheet directly to the Google Form, and automatically the data from your Google Sheet will be converted into a certain form. So, pwede kayong gumawa ng mga survey using Google Sheet, tapos i-convert niya sa Google Form. Yun yung kagandahan. You can even collaborate with your groupmates. You can invite them directly dito sa may Google Sheet natin. Okay, so let's get started. First of all, we can use Google Sheets for free, kagaya ng sabi ko, and we can visit this website, sheets.google.com. So, punta tayo dito. Ayan. Focus tayo dito sa part na to. Alright, so these are the most common terminologies that you should know when using Google Sheets. Okay, so let's be familiar with the following. Now, make sure na yung email nyo nakalogin ha, and let's create a blank spreadsheet here. So, this is the entire Google spreadsheet or Google Sheet interface. Nakikita niyo ito ngayon. It's very easy to understand for me. Okay, so this is actually where you will place a title. So in my case, I will put here an example title like Empowerment Technologies Spreadsheet Tutorial, for example. And do not worry because this will be automatically saved directly in your Google Drive. Now, to get started, let's cover some spreadsheet terminologies I have said. So number one, we have here what we call cell. Okay, so pag sinabi nating cell, these are the single data point or element in a spreadsheet. So once you click on something there, yan, this is alone what we call the cell. Now, usually the cell name here or the cell location can be seen on this part, on the upper upper left corner ng interface natin dito. So, this cell that is being selected is actually F10. Okay? Now, ano ibig sabihin ng F10? F10, we have here column, which is the vertical set of cells. And we also have here the rows, which are the horizontal set of cells. So, pag sinabi nating F10, meaning F as the row and 10 as its column. So, F10. So, pag dito naman, makikita natin L18. So, usually, nag-uumpisa yan sa A1 and nag-end yan sa Microsoft Excel masyadong madami. Pero dito, mag-end yan sa ngayon, Z1. Pero there are cases na kung gusto mo pong maglagay ng panibagong cell, possible din yan. Yan. So, you can also add another column yan, to the right. Tapos, pupunta siya sa AA. Okay, we also have what we call here range. So, pag sinabi naman nating range, meaning it's a selection of cells extending across a row, column, or both. So, halimbawa, di ba meron tayong cell dito? So, for example, D5. Now, if you selected multiple cells like this one, yun yung tinatawag natin ngayon na range, cell range. So, this can be read as D5 from D5 up to G17. Range. Ang tawag yan. So, pag ito naman, that's A20 up to N20. So, you have to be very familiar on how to read the cell referencing dito. So, that is from G3 up to G30. Meanwhile, we have here function. It's a built-in operation from spreadsheet app, which can be used to calculate cell, row, column, or range values. You can also manipulate data and more. Pag sinabi nating function, usually, meron din tayong tinatawag na formula. Formula is a combination of functions, cells, rows, columns, and range to obtain a specific result. Now, in order for us not to be confused with the difference between them, let's have this example here. So, let's try to add this two numbers. Diba? So, pag sinabi nating function, usually, ito yung mga built-in functions na nakikita natin dito. So, we have here the sum function. That's an example. Pag sinabi naman natin na formula, ito yung mga mano-mano na inilalagay natin. So, if we would like to add two cells here, we can just simply click on the cell name or the cell number added by this one. Intindihan ba natin yon? So, yun yung pinagkaiba ng function. Pag function, pareho sila nag-i-start sa equals, okay? Pero, usually, ang function, these are built-in. Okay? Pag formula, ikaw mismo yung gagawa. That's in layman's term for us to better understand what is happening. So, you can check most of the common functions here in Google Sheets by hovering your mouse here. So, function. Meron dyan. Napakadami. Diba? Alright, so we also have here what we call worksheet. Now, worksheet is actually the name of sets of rows and columns making up your entire spreadsheet. And one spreadsheet can have multiple sheets. So, ang nakikita niyo dito ngayon is what we call the entire spreadsheet. Now, each spreadsheet, you can add what we call sheets. Dito yan makikita sa pinakababa. So, you can simply click on this button, the plus button. Then, pwede na kayo makakreate ng panibagong sheets on this part. Okay? So, again, spreadsheet is an entire document containing your worksheets. Now, as I have said earlier, do not worry if this is your first time trying to learn what we call the Google Sheets, or if this is your first time familiarizing with Microsoft Excel formulas and function. Well, basically, what we will try to do here is for us to discuss the entire, or just simply give you an introductory on how to use this. So, yan, we will be creating a spreadsheet and fill it with, basic data. So, your module here are actually well written and everything is included here, especially yung mga data na gusto nyong magamit. So, in this example, on the left part of my screen, kakaroon lang tayo ng very basic example para mas maintindihan natin siya. Now, the best part about Google Sheet is that it's free and it works on any device, as I have said. You only need a web browser or even your mobile phone. Yan. And, of course, your Google account. So, on your Mac or PC, na Banggit ko na to kanina, and so on. So, I hope nandito na kayo sa part na to. Yan. You can just simply follow this one, especially how to create a blank worksheets. Now, since your performance task in this module will require you to work as a group, you have to make sure to share as the leader. You have to make sure to share your Google Sheet here. Okay? Change to anyone with a link, and change that with anyone with a link. But you have to make sure that this is editor. Okay? So you can just simply copy that and paste that to your group mates, and you can work together. You can even chat. And you can even have your own discussion as a group. So I am really expecting na lahat po tayo makikipagtulungan sa mga members natin. Alright, so yan. Basahin na lang natin tong part na to. Basahin nyo na lang to on this part. Now, let's talk about how to add, some data to your spreadsheets. So, data are simply, collection of information na ilalagay natin dito. Yan. So, you can just go ahead and look around the white gray grid that occupies most of the screen, and we all know that this is what we called cell. Okay, so let's let's add some data. For example, ito. Say for example, meron tayong ilalagay na pangalan. So we already know that this data here belongs to F21. Okay, so pag nilagay natin dito yun, pwede rin natin siyang lagyan na kahit anong data. So basically, every particular cell here can have its own data na tinatawag natin. Now, and so for example, if you would like to copy paste some particular data from the internet, or from someone, you can do that. You can just simply copy and paste that directly dito sa Google Sheet natin, kagaya ng example natin dito na nakikita sa module. So, it's possible. You can even, for example, you are already done with your worksheet. You can even download that, and go to File, go to Download, and there you go. So, pwede nyo siyang i-download as XLSX, even CSV, or comma-separated values. You can even download them as PDF. You can even use your own PDF, Excel file from your Microsoft Office, tapos directly nyo siyang i-upload dito. So, possible yan. Okay, yan. Yung tinatawag natin na import. Pag-import naman ng tinatawag natin na data. Now, you can actually drag to copy a particular cell value. Now, there are two ways on how you could use this feature. Pero pakita ko muna kung paano yun. Halimbawa, you have here a sample, a word sample. You can just simply copy and paste that by hovering your mouse dito. Tapos, pwede nyo siyang iganyan, and automatic, magka-copy and paste yung mga value na inano nyo. Diba? So, mas okay siya, mas mabilis. Yan. You can also copy a cell's data to number of neighboring cells. Yan. You can also copy a cell's formula to neighboring cells. And advanced feature yan, mamaya i-discuss natin yan. You can also create an ordered list of text data. Now, for example, anong sinasabi niyan? For example, you would like to, halimbawa, 1. Diba? So, kapag 1, ganyan lang siya. Kapag hinover nyo siya or drinag nyo siya dito, kahit saan, magka-copy lang yung 1. Pero if you would like to have an easier life, you can just simply do this. Diba? So, if you would like to create, instead of you typing 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and so on, you can just simply start from 1 and 2. Yan. Tapos, i-select nyo sila pareho, yung cell range na yan, E18, E19, drag it. You can even drag it there, di ba? So, nag-copy-paste na siya ng mas madali. Applicable din po yan sa mga functions, which I will show later on. Pwede rin yan sa mga months. Yan. Pag months, di ba? So, instead of us typing, ayan. Pwede rin yan sa days. Okay? Pwede rin yan sa days. Pwede rin yan sa mga alternate na or alternating sequences. So, for example, you have here January, Monday. Tapos January, Monday. Yan, so yan, alternating, di ba? February, Tuesday, March, Wednesday, and so on. So, that's actually how you copy some data na mas madali. Yun yung kagandahan ng Google Sheet and Microsoft Excel kasi everything is provided na sa atin. Next, we can also format them for easy viewing using Google Sheet. Ito, nakikita natin dito on this part, we can print, we can even undo. We can copy the cell formatting. Yan. We can format the number. Now, for formatting the number, for example, you have a data that contains money. Yan. So, initially, nakaganyan lang siya. It's being represented as a whole number. Now, if you would like to convert that into money, you can simply format that into currency. Yan. So, pwedeng-pwede yung i-format yan into currency. Diba? Ano pa ba? And you can also maximize or zoom in the entire spreadsheet. You can also change the currency by clicking this button here, itong more formats, custom currency. You can even choose PHP or Philippine Peso. There you go. Diba? So that's really amazing for us to do. You can also convert a particular number into its associated percentage. Here, for example, we have the following 50.50. Oops. And we can convert them into, or tanggalin muna natin to, and automatic natin. And we can convert that into percent. Ayan. So, now, you will notice na meron siyang mga decimal places. We can remove or decrease the number of decimal places by decrease and increase them by clicking this button here. So, ayan. Nagets ba natin? Ayan. Here on this part, we can actually use scientific formatting, accounting formatting, especially for ABM. Ayan. We can also use a currency pero rounded values na siya. And we can also convert or put some date and time. Yan, date, time, and duration. So, dito yung part where we can format those numbers properly. Alright, next, we can also change the font settings. Yan, we can use many fonts na gusto natin. You can even download your own font sa Google, tapos direct to, more fonts. You can look for some fonts na gusto mo, ilagay dito. You can upload your own fonts. Pero depende yun kung pwede. Yan. I haven't tried uploading a custom font, pero I think pwede naman. Pero yung Naruto sinesearch ko. Bakit Naruto? Yeah, kasi may Naruto ako dito sa PC. Pero saka na natin pag-usapan kung paano maglagay ng custom fonts. And di ba bakit? Just like Microsoft Office, you can also change the font style like bold, italic, and underline. Yan. Strike through. You can also change the text color. Yan. Ito. Diba? Yan. You can also fill some colors. Say, for example, you would like to fill this one. Yan. Gusto mo sila lagyan ng color. Ganyan. You can even add some borders. Like, all borders. You can even customize them. It's all up to you. Okay? Ano pa ba? We can also use this functionality here where what we call the merge cell. Ito. So, for example, diba kapag nagtatype kasi tayo dito ng isang data, usually, it belongs to a single cell. Or sabihin natin, months. Tapos we have here from January up to December. Pero for example, we would like to populate this entire cell range. Gusto natin siyang lagyan ng value later on. Pero yung months mo gusto mo siyang igigit na. Pwede ba yan na ilagay mo lang dito? Possible. Pero we have what we call the merge cell. Ang purpose ng merge cell is for us to merge some specific cells into one. For example, ito. Gusto kong itong buong cell na to mag-merge into one. From D15 to J15, mag-merge siya into one. So, we have here. Yan. So, kung napansin nyo, nag-merge siya into one particular cell na. Okay ba? Oops. Ayan. So, pwede nyo siya ngayong i-gitna using the cell data alignment. Ayan. You can even change the font into its bigger version. You can even, what do you call this one? Ayan. Vertical align your font kung gusto nyo. Pero, depende kung paano siya gagamitin. You can also, ang text wrapping naman, okay, para mas maintindihan natin. Halimbawa, you have a word here or a name as a data pero hindi kasya, di ba? Technically, pwede yung i-adjust yung cell. Pwede nyo siyang i-drag ng paganyan, pwede nyo rin siyang palitin. However, if you are working with multiple data, medyo magiging awkward siya. Ang purpose naman ng wrapping ng text is for us to wrap the entire text. Pagkakasyahin siya, technically. Ayan siya. So, pag ni-wrap natin siya, we can simply wrap them into something like that. Ayan. Diba? So, you can also align. Pag vertical align, ayan siya. Nag-a-align siya ng, kung napansin nyo kanina, initially, vertical alignment is nandito nandito siya sa part na yan. Pero when we align them vertically into center, it will go there. We can also format the text position or the text rotation. So for example, here I would like to place the days from Monday to Tuesday. Gusto ko silang i-place ng medyo pa vertical. You can do that by using this one. Ayan. Diba? So possible yan. Yan ang kagandahan ng Excel. You can even resize, kagaya sabi ko, kagaya na ganyan. Pero if you would like to have a specific value ng pagkaka-resize nyo, you can just simply click on the following cell or columns na gusto nyong i-resize, right-click on them, kahit saan. Tapos, you can just simply click on itong column stats natin. Makikita natin, yan, we have here a total rows and so on. We can actually resize them. Ito, resize columns. So, pwede nating sabihin natin masyadong maliit lang, like 20. So, pantay-pantay na sila. Diba? So, that's actually the power, another feature of Google Sheet / Microsoft Excel na gagamitin natin ngayon. We also have here this part where we can insert link, insert comment, insert charts, create a filter, which hindi natin totally i-discuss, pero itong functions ang importante nating i-discuss. Okay? Let's undo everything. And so on. And so, as you can see here on the module, or in the module, makakita tayo dito ng sample data which I actually created para mas maintindihan ninyo. So, you can copy them and you can try it on your own para at least ma-experience nyo yung nangyayari dito sa Microsoft Excel natin. Okay? Now, you can particularly freeze some rows. Okay? So, anong ibig sabihin kapag i-freeze natin yung rows? Now, gawa tayo dito ng sample na data. So, for example, gawa tayo ng summary ng baon natin. Summary of expenses na lang. So, we have here the days, like from Monday hanggang Friday. Diba? So, we have here the student 1, student 2, student 3, and so on. Ayan. So, we can merge this cell. Okay, let's align them into center. We can now add a border para mas maging maganda siya. Now, you notice na kapag hino-hover natin siya pababa, yan, sumasama lahat, di ba? Now, if you freeze particular row dito sa Google Sheet natin, pakita natin kung paano yun ha. You can go to View, okay, Freeze, and we can freeze one particular row. Anong ginagawa nito? So, ang ginagawa niyan, kapag nag-freeze kayo ng row, notice that right now, since I am scrolling, yung pinaka-title, hindi siya nawawala. Diba? Kumbaga, andyan lang siya. This can be very useful, especially kapag marami ka ng data na ine-encode. Like, yun nga, yung performance test ninyo na grading system. Okay? Nagets ba natin? That's how you freeze. So, you can also make the header pop by simply customizing them. Yan. So I have said you can even, put some colors. Yan. You can also, format or apply some currency. And yun na. Diba? So, dito tayo. Let's now focus on what we called adding or some formulas na tinatawag natin. So, just like WPS and Microsoft Office, which is very common, we can add, we can also compute the average and filter data with formulas. As I had said earlier, we can do that by simply placing an equal sign before the entire formula will work. So, punta tayo dito sa may add muna. Kapag gusto nating mag-add, say for example, we would like to compute the total expenses ng student 1. Lagyan natin ito ng border. Ayan. So, if you would like to, let's add here, or let's convert this first into a currency. Gawin natin yung currency natin na Philippine peso. Para every time naglalagay ako ng pera dito, ganyan na siya. Oops, wala pa to. Same goes through here. Now, since we are trying to add their total expense, we can just simply put equal sign and click the cell here, which is P3. In your case, mag-iiba yan, ha? So, depende kung saan nyo nilagay yung values nyo. Plus Q3, plus R3, plus S3, plus T3, and plus U3. So if you enter, or if you click on enter, automatic, it will show you the total expense from Monday to Saturday. I hope na gagets natin yun. Okay. We can also calculate the average. Yan. So, alam naman natin ang average is simply the total expense divided by the total nung days na meron. Diba? So, we can just simply do that by referencing V3 divided by kung ilan sila. So, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. That's the average expense ng student 1. I hope you are getting that. Okay? So, instead of us using or putting here the number 6, which we typed manually, we can use what we call the count function. Count function simply count the values in a range of cells. If, for example, we would like to count the values na nandito from here to P3 hanggang U3. Yan. So, pakita natin dito kung paano yan. Count. We can do that by using equals count. Let's put here the cell range hanggang dito. So, ayan. So, meron kang tinatawag ngayon na function na count. Okay, so, kapag ka-count kasi, yun, pwede nyo siyang gamitin kapag gumagamit kayo ng, or gagamitin nyo siya sa average functionality naman. So, meron tayong, instead of us putting here 6, pwede nyo na ngayon ilagay yung formula kanina na count. Ayan. Tapos, from here up to here. Then, if you open a parenthesis, you have to make sure to close that. Okay? So, yun yung purpose nung count ngayon. You're only counting the cells that have values. Hindi po kasama ang walang value. So, tingnan natin. Pag tinanggal natin itong value ng Tuesday, this should become 5. Diba? So, yun yung count naman. Meanwhile, we have here max. Ang max naman, okay, ang purpose ng max, it finds the highest value in a range of cells. So, ito nga, lagyan ko nga ng kulay para hindi tayo malito. Ayan. Ayan. So, max are simply, we are just simply counting. Adjust ko yung cell na ito. Ayan. Adjust ko yung cell na ito. you are just simply counting the maximum or the highest value na makikita natin dito. You can use that or you can do that by putting equals max. Then, tignan nyo yung parameters ha. Value 1 hanggang dito sa range natin ng Saturday. So, P3 to U3. So, alam natin, by simply taking a look at the value here, we already know that the highest is 90. Pero if we try to add some more values like 500, automatic, the max value here will become 500 as well. Ganun din pag min. Kapag min naman, yung minimum, pinakamaliit na value na makikita natin sa isang cell range. So, from here to here, 60. So, if we have here 10, ayun na siya, papakita. Na-gets naman natin siguro na. Okay. And we can also use some other basic arithmetic such as yan yung minus, mga ganyan, product, division, and so on. Okay, so alam na natin kung paano gumamit ng formula. So dito, gumamit tayo ng yung equals tapos yung plus 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 na isa-isa. Diba? And make sure ha, kapag gumagamit kayo or gumagawa kayo ng formula na mano-mano kagaya nito, you have to be very careful when selecting the entire or a specific cell. Kasi dyan kayo pwedeng magkamali. Okay? Ayan, we also have what we call the count formula, and which I was able to discuss. Basahin nyo to ha. This module was designed for those beginners na talagang walang idea kung paano gumamit ng Google Sheets. Yan. For average, yan, we have the average formula. Now, kung nakikita natin dito, we can use some particular simple arithmetic formula na kagaya nito. Now, we need to calculate the total cost of this one, which we already did. Yan. However, meron kayo nakikita dito na dollar sign. Now, the purpose of the dollar sign, okay, or the dollar symbol, it actually tells the sheets that no matter where we put the formula in our spreadsheet, we always want to reference the column, that particular column. That way, if we copy the formula to other recipes, it will always use the average unit cost column rather than shifting the reference. Now, anong ibig sabihin yan? Anong tawag dito sa sign na to? This is what we called absolute reference. Okay? This is what we called absolute reference. Now, from the word itself, absolute, meaning, whatever happened, kahit na i-drag nyo pababa. So far kasi, di ba, kahit i-drag nyo pababa ang isang value, nagbabago siya. Kumbaga, ito na lang. We have here the following examples. We would like to add them. Tapos, we can just simply use the sum function. Yan, add natin siyang ganyan. Tapos, gawa tayo dito ng panibagong ganyan. Ayan. So, kung napansin natin, baguhin ko rin tong mga value nito para hindi kayo malito. Okay. These are just simply sample ha, sample lang na data natin para mas maintindihan natin ang tinatawag natin na absolute reference. Okay, now, each particular sum here will be divided. Okay, will be divided into a certain value which is, for example, gusto natin siyang i-divide into 5. So, ilagay natin. So, kapag ka-divide natin yung into 5, yan, lumabas na lahat na number 5 na siya. Pero, ganyan natin siya. Instead of us referencing or putting just simply the number 5, what if i-reference natin siya dito sa number 5? Okay. Now, look what will happen. Let's try to analyze this. This part of the total, or the sum, or the summation of this entire range, okay, dinivide niya dito sa 5. Since we simply copied this formula, tapos kinopy natin dito, or nakopy siya automatic dito, of course, nag-increment din yung cell nito. So, kanina, ito, ginamit niya to na pinag-divide. And followed by this one, ito naman ang ginamit niya, and yan naman yung ginamit niya, so on so forth. Now, the question here, paano kung gusto kong lahat ng ito, i-divide ko lang into a single cell without even affecting anything? Yan. Diyan ngayon papasok yung tinatawag natin na absolute reference. We can do that by placing dollar sign. Ito, usually ginagawa ko dyan, I'm placing the dollar symbol or the dollar sign before the letter and after the letter itself para maging absolute siya. So kapag kadrinag ko na yan pa right, whatever happens, notice that the formula always has the value or being referenced to R18. Okay? I hope you are getting that. Yan, yun yung purpose ng tinatawag natin na absolute reference. Okay? Next, before we go here sa my other important functions and formulas, again, you have to take note that formulas are being created manually. Okay? It's a combination of multiple functions. Pag functions, usually they are built in, such as the sum, average, count, max, and min. So yung average kanina, instead of us using this formula here, na V3 divided by the count, we can just simply use average. Yan, average the value from this one up to this one. So there you go. If we will try to populate this, halimbawa 11, tapos gusto ko siyang i-populate na ganyan, yan. If I will also drag down the total expenses, you will notice that the formula that we created here also, or was able to copy itself as well. So, therefore, kung gusto natin siyang gawing function na lang, na from range Monday to Saturday, and pwede na siya. You will notice that the functions on each cells are automatically copied. Same goes through with the count. Same goes through with the max. Same goes through with the min. Lahat po, kapag ka nagdadrag kayo ng pababa, nag-iiba at nag-iiba yung value niya. I hope you're getting that. Okay? Alright. Next thing here is for us to reference a value from another sheet to a specific sheet. So for example, here you have the first sheet. Let's create another sheet. It's also possible for you to simply reference this entire data or range by simply going here to equal. So pwede kayo mag-reference dito. You can simply put equals, then go to that sheet and just point to the cell na gusto nyong i-copy. So in this case, I will copy the sheet 03 from sheet number 1. Ayan. So I hit enter. There you go. So kung napansin natin, na-reference na or kinuha natin yung value nito from the other sheet. So it's really possible. Sir, pwede ba halimbawa dito sa sheet number 3, kukunin ko pa rin yung value ng sheet 1? Yes, possible. Even the formulas can also be referenced as well. Okay, nagets niyo ba? Diba, napakadali ng ng Microsoft Excel. Google Sheets. Very easy pa rin talaga. Okay? So, before we go here, dito sa part ng other important functions and formulas, let me show you some other notable things na kailangan nating matutunan. Number 1 is what we called data validation. Okay, data validation. So you can go here to data, tapos you can click on data validation. Now, what's the purpose of data validation? The purpose of this one is simply for us to let the user input a specific number or a specific range of number. Okay, so halimbawa, dito sa may part na to, sa Monday and Tuesday, we are only allowing the user to input values minimum of 0 pesos hanggang maximum ng 100. Maximum ha? So therefore, kapag ka nag-input ang user ng more than 100 pesos, hindi na pwede. Okay, so we can do that. We can simply put some data validation here. So range natin. And range natin dito. Then, let's go to data and click on data validation. Now, on this part, we have the follow or a new window. Yan. Popped up. So, we have here the cell range, which is automatically, alam na natin yan. Now, the criteria here, what is the criteria that we are trying to look? Of course, maximum we are only allowed to enter 0 to 100. So, meaning we have here a range, 0 to 100 lang. Okay, so, kapag naglagay tayo dito ng 0 to 100, we can just simply click on a specific range. Alright, I'm sorry. We can just simply disregard muna tong list from range. But instead, since we are looking for 0 to 100, let's go here sa number. Yan. So we can just simply put here, we are only allowing or validating numbers from 0 up to 100. Now, if ever the user inputted like -1 and 101, for example, automatic there will a show warning value or show warning text message. Yan. Tapos, lagay natin dito, you have entered an incorrect input. Yan. So, let's save that. Oh, please enter a valid number or formula. Okay. Okay, so, lagay natin dito 100. There you go. So, let's save that. So, nothing happened. But then, if you will try that, let's put here 5. Okay. Sureball naman. Pero let's try to place here like 105. Okay. Eventually, ayan, nagkaroon tayo ng input ng error dito. So, invalid. Input must be a number between 0 and 100. We can even, reject the data. Okay. Reject natin yung input na lang. Mas maganda. Tapos, halimbawa, may naglagay tayo ng 105 or 101. Ayan. So, a new pop-up dialog appeared saying that there was a problem. You have entered an incorrect input. So, of course, kailangan mo lang baguhin. Paano pag negative? Ganun din. O, diba? Ayan. So, hindi pwede ang 0 to 100. I hope you are getting that. That's what we call the data validation naman. Okay. So, what else? We also have what we called conditional formatting. Okay. Now, for the conditional formatting, by the way, before we proceed, you can always play around with the data validation. So, you can, instead of checking on number, you can also validate some text na kapag halimbawa may word kang nilagay na halimbawa, passed or failed. Pwede rin. Yan, even date and custom formula. So, let's go to what we called, conditional formatting na tinatawag natin. The purpose of conditional formatting is for us to simply manipulate the cell colors or manipulate a specific cell depending on the value or condition na ilalagay mo. Nagets ba natin yun? I hope nagets natin. Okay, let me give you an example here. Say for example, gusto kong maglagay dito na kapag ang nilagay kong number is from 1 to 10, magpapakita is green. Kapag naglagay ako dito ng from 11 to 20, magiging blue. Kapag from 21 to 30, magiging yellow. Okay, so, meron tayo nitong mga to. Yan. Conditional formatting can simply, color or manipulate this cell depending on the condition. Okay, so gawin natin yan. First of all, let's select the range. Let's go to Format. Let's go to conditional formatting. And you have the range. You have to format the rules. The rules, remember, the rule should be this one. To, kailangan natin maging careful dito eh. If the cell, okay, is between, is between, we can just simply place 1 hanggang 10. Okay, if the cell is between from 1 to 10, we can now change the color into green. We can even change the custom, this one. And you can click on done. You can also add another rule. Ayan. Or mamaya na lang. Done na lang muna natin yan. Ayan. So kapag ka 1 to 10, pag lagay ako ng 5 dyan, di ba? Napansin nyo, nagiging green siya. So kapag ka maglalagay ako ulit ng panibagong rule dito, which is if the number is between 11 to 20, gusto ko siyang maging blue. Asan yung custom format natin? Ito. Gusto ko siyang maging blue. Boom. Nothing happened. But then let's try. Let's put here 11. Let's put here 19. Diba? Nagiging blue siya. Let's add another rule, which is 21 to 30. Again, is between 21 to 30. So you have here yellow. And kapag ka meron kang 21, oops, wala nangyari. So from 21 to 30, ayan, ulitin natin. So is between 21 to 30. Change the color into yellow and click on done. So every time naglalagay ako ng values from 21 to 30, it's becoming like that. Okay? That is what we call conditional formatting. Alright, so I hope na gets na natin yung part na yun. So, let's continue. Dito naman, sa module natin, we still have the following important functions and formulas. So, kagaya sabi ko, you can use, aside from the sum, you can also use product, quotient. You can even use exponents such as power and, of course, yung exponentiation. So, hindi naman masyadong ginagamit, pero at least para aware lang kayo kung paano siya magamit or paano siya i-apply. Next, alam na natin si max, alam na natin si min. Let's proceed to count A. Ang count A naman, it simply counts the values. Okay? Pero, tingnan natin ha. Dito kasi meron tayong count dito. Sa natin to. Let's try to check and see the difference between count A and count lang. Pag count lang, you are simply counting the number of numeric values in dataset. Kapag count A, the number of values in a dataset. Take note ha, count simply counts the numeric. Count A simply count the number of values in a dataset. Count A po yun. So, ang count, technically, binibilang niya is numbers. Pag count A, it doesn't matter. Okay, so tingnan natin. Monday to Saturday, close parenthesis. It's still the same, 6. Pero, kapag ka nagtanggal kasi tayo ng values dito, like, ganyan, ayan. Nabibilang niya, isa lang yung ano. Even though you have placed here a text. Oh, nga pala, may data validation tayo dito. So, you have entered an incorrect input. So, pag nag-enter tayo ng text dito, makakount pa rin yan. Kasi, count A ang ginamit natin. Okay. Kapag count if naman, you are now counting a cell with a specific range. Okay, paano yun? So, pag count, okay, tingnan natin yung count if. Ang definition ng count if here, a conditional count across a range. Okay, so you have here a particular condition. Now, I would like to count the number of cells that now includes or that now has a value less than 20. Okay, less than 20. First of all, let's try to take a look at the parameters. Range now here is from Monday to Saturday. Okay, oops. So from P hanggang dito. Let's ulitin ko. Count if. So from here to Saturday, that's the range. Now, use comma. Okay? And this time, you have to place here the criterion. Now, the criterion here, simply, parang condition. You are now taking a look or putting a certain condition doon sa range na gusto mo. Ang gusto ko kasing condition kanina is, ang bibilangin niya lang lahat ng value na less than 20. So, paano natin ilalagay yon? We can now just simply put here double quotation mark and less than 20. And do not forget to end the formula and function by adding closing parenthesis. Ayan. So, ayan. Makikita nyo dito ngayon sa function na to. Diba? So, copy natin yan. Bakit naging 3? Kasi we have here 0, 10, and 12 pesos which actually satisfied the condition here which is less than 20. Tingnan natin yung ibang cell. Palitan natin to. Ito pa 50. We have here 5. Why? Because we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 na cell which contains or which satisfied the condition that this cell range must have a value of less than 20. Yun yung count if. Okay? Ayos, ano? I know, medyo mahirap, pero or nakakalito, pero ngayon talaga. Next, today and now. Ang today and now, ayan, you can just simply put equals today. Open and close parenthesis. Yan. It will give you the date. You can even modify that by using this. I mean, by simply, changing the date and time. So, kung gusto nyo yung date nyo ganito, pwede. Possible yan. You can also put now. Yan. So, pag now naman, ganyan na itsura. So, meron kang date and specific time. Okay. I hope nagigets natin mga to. Next, we have the following formatting functions na pwede natin gamitin. Number 1 is trim. Trim simply removes unwanted spaces in Google Sheet or Excel. Now, let's have an example here. Say for example, okay, unwanted spaces, no? So you have the quick brown fox. Okay, we can use trim by removes leading, trailing, and repeated space. We can just simply go here and remove that. Pero hindi siya nag-remove, no? Okay, hindi pala siya nag-remove. So, ganito ang gawin natin. Copy ko to. And yun yung ilagay natin dito sa trim. We can use equals trim. Tapos, ganyan. Pero, lagayan natin ng open and closing quotation marks. So, ganyan siya. Oops, bakit ganun pa rin siya? Alright, so, mali pala ako. Ito. Kapag ka, for example, yung example natin kanina, ito, di ba? If we have here a space, yan, trailing space na tinatawag natin, yun pala yung change ni trim. Naalala ko na. Yan. So, kung napansin natin, ganyan siya. Even the unwanted space here sa part na to. Yan. So, apparently, ito, may panibagong function dyan which will be discussed further. Yan. Okay? Next, we have here len. Count the numbers of character in a cell. So, ang len naman, we are just simply counting the characters, including spaces. Yan. Number of characters. 19. Next, concatenate are simply the word concatenate simply means combine two particular words into one. So, halimbawa, meron kayong yan. Pwede natin siyang i-concatenate by using the concatenate function. Yan. Then, comma. Ito. Another comma. Ito. Close parenthesis. So, there you go. Nag-combine na siya. Diba? Combine na siya all together. You can even put here a space para magkaroon ng space in between. Ayan. Diba? Napansin natin. Those are the trim, len, and concatenate functions. Na magagamit nyo yan sa may ano natin. Next, if. Okay. Ang if naman, yung parang ginawa natin sa count if kanina, we are simply testing a certain condition. Alright, so let's have an example here in which we will try to have a condition na kung saan if the user input from, like for example, input a value equals to, for example, yes. Yan. Kapag naglagay tayo ng value na, or the word yes, ang magpapakita dapat is 0. Nagets natin? That's the first condition, ha? That's the first condition. The second condition, if the user now input a value equals to a specific number, say for example, 10, magre-result yan into no. We can do that by using if statement. Okay, so for example, you have here the value, you have as well the result. So every time na naglalagay tayo dito ng value, for example, meron tayong yes dito, dapat ang lalabas dito is 0. Tama? So that can be possible by using if statement. So let's put here yes, and let's use if statement. If statement, yan, returns value depending on logical expression. Now, the first logical expression is ito. Logical expression simply means the condition. So, if this one is equal to, okay, to yes, what will happen? We will now try to add a value. If this is true, we will also add a value if this is false. Okay, so let's try to put here, kapag ka nag-true siya, 0 ang maglalagay. For now, let's leave it as is. Diba? So, ganun siya. Kasi, ang condition natin dito sa true is 0. Paano naman kapag ang condition natin is 0? I mean false. Maglalagay tayo ng 1. Take note, ha? Let's try to review this one. If this cell, Q87, is equal to the yes value, therefore, the result will true. Otherwise, yan, maglagay tayo ng comma, the result will be 1. There you go. So, every time naglalagay ako dito ng yes, copy ko yung expression. Every time naglalagay ako dito ng 1, yan, ay ng yes, nagiging, nagpapalit yung value niya. Okay? Next, if we now try to input a value of 10, pagkapakita is no. Pero kapag hindi 10, magiging yes. Tingnan natin, ha? So, kapag ka 10, magiging yes dapat. Pag hindi 10, magiging no. So, that's possible by using if statement. If this value here is equal to 10, ayan, the value now will now become no. Otherwise, the value will become yes. Ganun siya. Yung ito ang challenge dyan yung pag-iisip ng expression. Itong logical expression. So, ganyan. Diba? So, pag naglagay ako dito ng value na 10, nagdulo siya. Pero pagka hindi siya 10, nagiging ganyan. Okay. Let's put here another logical operation na if the user input like around 75 or 100 or 100. Magre-result siya ng pass, otherwise fail. 75 or 100 so specific lang yung i-input natin. Ibig sabihin, 75 or 100. We can do that by simply using what we called OR operator, logical operators. Meaning, you have or you need to have two expression and one of them should be true. So, that's possible by using, dibawa, meron akong 75 dito, meron akong 100. So, we are expecting that this one should be passed, this one should be failed. So, let's put here if this one is equal to 75, for example. Pwede ka ngayon maglagay dyan ng OR. Ayan. Or, since meron tayong OR dito, pwede ka muna maglagay dyan ng OR na logical operation. That's, ayan. OR. Followed by the second expression, which is an OR if the Q99 cell value is equal to 100. The value now will become passed. Otherwise, it will become failed. I hope na gets natin, no? Ginawa natin dyan, we added the OR expression sa pinakaunahan kasi we are trying to take a look at two different expressions at the same time. So, OR, Q99 equals 75. Yan. Q99 equals 10. So, let's click enter. There you go. So, kapag ka-ino natin yan, ayan. Diba? So, kapag ka 68, 69, 70, failed yan. Pero pag 80, dapat magtutrue na yan. I mean, fail pa rin kasi ang condition natin is 75 and 100. Now, paano kung gusto nating ilagay dito, if the user input from 75 to 100. Ibig sabihin, range naman siya. Range. Nagets ba? Range naman. So, particular range. Diyan ngayon papasok yung end statements. Kasi, ang end statements, you will now try to evaluate two different conditions and we have to make sure that those two conditions must be true. Okay. Punta tayo dito ngayon. So, for example, ito, baguhin natin. We already know that this will now result into pass. This will result into fail. Okay? So, for as long as the user nag-type dito ng number na more than 75 and not greater than 100, pass dito. So, that is if ang i-check natin na value is yung end natin. Okay? So, if this cell is actually, take note ha, ang minimum is 75. So, minimum ng 75. Therefore, if Q99 is less than or equal, or sabihin natin greater than muna. If Q99 is greater than or equal to 75, that's the first expression. Let's put another expression by using comma. And let's place here if Q99 is less than or equal to 100. Okay, ano ibig sabihin nito? Ulitin natin. For as long as this value here is less than 75, pero at the same time, greater than 75, greater than or equal to 75, pero at the same time, less than or equal to 100, anong mangyayari? Comma, what will be the value? Passed. Otherwise, we will paste here, passed through tuloy. Failed. Okay. Let's hit enter. And voila. Kita ba natin? So, 75 is passed, 100 is passed. How about 101? Yun na, nagkaroon na ng fail. Diba? Pero technically, wala namang 101 na grade. Wala ring, may 66 na grade, pero walang 101 na grade. Yan. Diyan ngayon papasok yung isang condition natin. Pwede tayo maglagay ng multiple condition more than 100. Okay, so kapag ka meron kang gustong ilagay dito na multiple condition, you can just simply, you know, to call this one, dito, maglalagay ka ulit na instead of putting here another failed or the word failed, technically, hindi siya failed. Okay? Hindi siya failed. Technically, pag 101 na kasi, hindi siya failed. Pwede ka ulit dito maglagay ng panibagong if statement. So, that will be one of your activities dito sa performance task na kailangan nyo i-figure out kung paano yung tinatawag natin na nested if statements. So, meaning, there will be an if statement here, tapos, meron kang if statement na panibago. Pag ganyan siya. So, sa loob ng if statement na to, may loob na may isa pang if statement at may isa pang if statement. So, yun yung mga tinatawag natin na nested if statements. Okay? So, ang mangyayari dyan kasi, yan, kapag ka nag-true na, halimbawa, 100, naging pass. Pero, pagka i-check niya ulit kasi, mayroong panibago yan ulit dito na kapag 101, anong mangyayari? Diba? Pag 101, anong mangyayari? That will be an error. So, dito yan, sa pangalawang, yung value if false, maglalagay ka dyan ng isa pang if statement. Okay. Diba? Nagigets naman siguro natin, no? Okay. So, lastly, we have here what we call the VLOOKUP. Isa to sa mga pinaka-enjoy yet challenging na part ng Excel, ng Google Sheet, yung paggamit natin ng VLOOKUP. Now, for VLOOKUP, it's simply the way on how you look up and reference some particular function. Now, let's have some examples here. You have the ID, you have first name, you have last name, you have here salary. For example, maglagay tayo ng ID na, mga ID lang, ID numbers lang. Tapos dito, we have the following. Manuel, Uzumaki, Uchiha, tapos Hatake, tapos, lang, ganyan na para hindi masyadong madami. Last name, baliktad, no? Last name lang ito. Last name, first name. Yan. So, you have here 1, Ian, Naruto, Sasuke, tapos Kakashi. You also have here their salary, 80, 86. Yan. Example lang naman ito. Let's put it here, pounds. Wag pounds, Philippine peso. Okay. Now, what we are trying to do here is we will try to look up the salary of a specific ID number. So, ibig sabihin, kapag ang tinype ko dito na ID is 85, okay, pag tinype ko dito is 85, dapat magpapakita yung salary na 80. Diba? So, that can be possible by using VLOOKUP. So, VLOOKUP equals VLOOKUP. What are the parameters ng VLOOKUP? Tignan muna natin yung parameters niya. Equals VLOOKUP. Okay. First of all, here you have the ID na gusto mong i-check. The function na gusto mong i-check muna. So, what we are trying to do here is to look up the value of 85. Dito, you have a specific comma, followed by the range kung saan mo gustong tignan yung mismong yan. So, you have the range here. Followed by the third argument, okay? The third argument here will now tell the VLOOKUP function to return the value in the same row. So, ang ibig sabihin yan, we would like to return the value of the salary. So, that's the fourth row. This is 1, the first row, second, third, and fourth. So, kapag nilagay natin si fourth yan, ayan na siya. Okay? Followed by the last parameter, which is simply true or false. Ang purpose nitong Boolean function na true or false nito will simply tell the VLOOKUP function to return an exact match. Okay? Exact lang. Kapag
Kumbaga, sa ngayon, exact match yan. Kapag false, ibig sabihin kung ano yung, pag false, eksaktong 85 lang dapat niyang titignan. Okay? Pero pag true, yung pinakamalapit sa 85 ang titignan niya later on. So let's try to review. We use VLOOKUP I6, which is we are trying to look for the 85. Okay? And the range of C7 to F11 from this one. And 4 here, meaning the row number na gusto mong i-print later on, which is ito. False, meaning yung eksakto lang dapat na 85. So, equals. There you go. So, pag binago ko yung ID dito, like for example, 90, pagpapakita dapat 80 pa rin. Pag 80, pag sinabi nating, hindi, ito, 100. Pag 100, naging 56 na siya. Pag 10, naging 860. Pag 90, naging 80. That's how VLOOKUP works. Nagets na natin? So, kapag tag-true tayo dito, meaning kung ano yung pinakamalapit. Diba? Kung ano yung pinakamalapit sa 90, yun yung magpapakita na value. Pero in this case, kasi pinakamalapit sa 90 is 85. So, since may 90, kung may sakto naman siyang 90, pasok siya sa 90. Pero kung 91 yan, ano yung pinakamalapit sa 90? Yung 85. Or yung 91. Actually, bakit 91 pa rin, no? Yung inano niya. Ay, yeah, bakit yung 85 pa rin yung kinapi niya, no? Anyways, ganyan talaga minsan ang nangyayari kapag ka naka-true or approximate kasi yun eh. Yan yung hirap kapag ka nag-true ka dito. Kaya, I personally prefer false. Tingnan mo ha, pag wala yung 90 na gusto natin, automatic magpo-produce siya ng error. Pero pag meron, ayun, 85. That's how VLOOKUP works. Now, this is very applicable lalo dun sa mismo ano natin, dun sa performance test natin, which I will discuss right now.
Okay, so you have the written work here which you will answer. And ito na po, yung performance test natin, since by group yan, you have 75 points in total. First of all, you have to format. You have to create first the format. And you have to follow the member's last name that will be placed here. Okay? Grading system. So, in the spreadsheet, you have to create 4 worksheets. Sinabi ko na kung paano yan. And inside the information sheet, so basahin nyo lang siya basically. But then, I want you to focus your activity dito sa may part ng calculation. Because you will really calculate a lot of, perform a lot of calculations here in this worksheet. So, you have to follow them because everything will be scored particularly. Pero ito, asan yun? Every time a user enter the score, the student score field, it should validate if the user entered the score less than or equal to the total score. What does it mean? See, for example, you have here yung mga score, maximum score na i-enter nyo. Diba? So, kapag ka naglalagay ka ng value dyan, dapat, yung pag naglagay ako ng 80, hindi na pwede. Or more than 10, hindi na pwede. So, ang i-check ko dyan, paano pag pinalitan ko to? For example, ginawa kong 50, ginawa kong 40 yung maximum. So, therefore, kahit mag-enter ako dito ng 12, pwede pa. Pero hindi na ako pwede mag-enter ng 51. Magpuproduce ng error. So, yun yung gusto kong mangyari. Sa calculation, itong part na to. You can also, based from the remarks, anyone who got 74 and below will highlight the cell into a red color. So, conditional formatting yan. Alam na natin yan. Ito naman, remarks, poor, fair, good, and so on. You can use VLOOKUP or end statements, if and end statements. Now, how to lock unusable cells? There is actually a way for us to lock particular cells. You can go to, halimbawa, gusto kong i-lock ito. You can go to, asa na nga ba yun? Can go here to data, protect sheets. So, protect sheets, and if ever na naka-protect yung entire worksheet nyo, make sure to give me, and you have to give me the permission to edit them. Yan. Okay, so may mga parts dyan na hindi ko pwedeng ma-edit. Or hindi pwedeng ma-edit ng classmates nyo. So, for example, yung grading system nyo, pag hinawakan nyo na yun, hindi nyo na pwedeng ma-edit. Kami lang pwedeng maka-edit. Mga ganon. Okay, so an example output is also uploaded here on this part of your module, so you can go ahead and baste your output from this one. Alright, so we really have a very long discussion. I am hoping you will ask me questions as soon as possible because this is the grading of this one. Let me show you the rubrics of this one. It's very, very big. It's around 75. Alright? So, sige. If you don't have any question, you can go ahead and ask me any time of the day. Basta nag-reply ako. Alright, thank you for listening. Have a good day.